Hey friends, welcome back to Macabrathon. When coming up with ideas for videos to make, this one was one I was looking most forward to. Five Nights at Freddy's. I have a bit of history with the games. I even tried making my own horrible theory and fact videos back in the day.
But it almost appears to be a burnt version of the cupcake, with it just has a normal bottom and then only in some angles.
I like to think that I've gotten a little better at making videos. Anyway, I'll be focusing mainly on the first game tonight, and probably make a follow-up at some point. I'd love to make a full series retrospective as an excuse to play through all of the games again. I think this intro's gone on long enough. It's about time we grab a coffee, sit back, and enjoy. Created by Scott Cawthon over a decade ago now, in 2014, Five Nights at Freddy's has become one of the most ubiquitous horror franchises on the internet. Initially gaining traction thanks to the explosive success of gameplay videos made by playing the demo. I would wager if you've clicked on this video, you've already seen Markiplier's Let's Play, maybe even multiple times if you're like me. This game would be Scott Cawthon's first major success after multiple decades of video game development. Hearing the vocal critique of his previous games he created, calling his characters animatronic-like, he played to his strengths and set a band of killer animatronics on the player. The gameplay really hasn't aged all too well, having countless titles and fan games that have iterated upon it. But at the time it was a breath of fresh air for the horror gaming community. While other games at the time would have you being put in situations where you were forced to push forward, in spite of the fear you were experiencing, Five Nights at Freddy's brought the fear to your metaphorical and literal door. You take a job from a newspaper's help wanted section, a night guard at a local restaurant. As stated in the ad, you're tasked with monitoring the cameras and ensuring safety of equipment and animatronic characters. The place has obviously seen better days. Cobwebs and grime line the walls of your office, as exposed wires and trash litter the halls. You settle in for your 6-hour shift, and the phone begins to ring. A voice over the speaker gives you instructions, detailing operation of the cameras, lights, and doors. But even through the corporate cleansed dialogue of this phone guy, it's clear that things aren't as they seem. Your job isn't going to be keeping people out, you realize, because the real threat has been in here the whole time. The friendly-looking band of animatronics are moving on their own, and with each glance at the cameras, they're getting closer. As your week of work progresses, so too does the activity of the band. Hallucinations begin. At first, it's as simple as posters appearing changed, or hearing voices and seeing messages. But as time goes on, you bear witness to an apparition within your office, removing all sense of security you have, and forcing you to simply look away. Some of these hallucinations begin to bring up questions, though. Newspaper clippings in the hall reveal a dark story of a man luring and killing children within the restaurant, leaving their bodies to never be found, and a decayed scent emanating from the robots. One of the first things you'll notice is the open doorways with buttons to close them on your left and right. Don't question it. These are your only true defenses, keeping whatever might be outside at bay. Each door also features a light that allows you to peer into the darkness. By flicking the mouse down to this little box here, you can open the cameras, arguably your most vital tool for survival, and take a look around the pizzeria. You'll be keeping an eye on the titular Freddy, along with his stage mates Bonnie and Chica as they roam the floor, all the while making sure the fourth member, Foxy, stays in his pirate cove, Usage of the doors, lights, and cameras will drain your very limited power supply though, which is the sole resource you balance while attempting to survive the night. Got that? Well, congratulations. You now know how to play Five Nights at Freddy's. There are some mechanics that require more intimate knowledge of how the game itself functions, such as cam stalling and movement intervals, but those aren't necessary to know for the majority of people. I would say this is where the first game is the weakest, although with an important caveat. Before the game was essentially solved and the movement and actions of the animatronics weren't demystified, the gameplay was actually fun and engaging. But once you have any knowledge of how to abuse the animatronic AI, the nights become less tense and more akin to a rhythm game, where you are repeating the same 3 actions ad nauseum for 8 minutes at a time. That's another issue with this game. It features the longest nights of all sit and survive style Five Nights at Freddy's games, at 8 minutes and 55 seconds. Almost every subsequent game decreased this time further, down to Ultimate Custom Night with its 4.5 minute long nights. Graphics are subjective. Sometimes. Most people can agree that a game like Cyberpunk 2077 looks great, and a game like Big Rigs does not. It's extraordinarily difficult to fairly judge a game on its graphics, because hey, some people think RuneScape looks beautiful. I think the best way to go about this is covering the weakest aspects before I gush about how much I love this game's graphics. In my opinion, the only objective issue with the game's graphics would probably be the method used to give the illusion of rotating in 3D space. It's very disorientating for me personally, and in some cases, does more to break the illusion than help it. This obviously comes from a technical limitation of the engine used for the games, but some later titles do a much better job with it, mostly by incorporating movement animations, like in the case of Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Other than this and a few instances of models clipping into themselves, I couldn't find anything to knock the game for. Now the fun part. The renders in this game are downright gorgeous. The pizzeria is so believably dingy and grimy, and the characters are somehow the most realistic of any games. Don't get me wrong, I love almost every other Five Nights at Freddy's game, but the basic setting of a rundown 90s pizzeria goes so well with Scott's style, it's unreal. Something that goes understated in most discussions I've seen of the graphics is the jump scares being in office. As the games got larger, concern over file size became more apparent, leading to the reduction of jump scare quality in some cases, most clearly seen with the infamous PNG jump scares. Imagine being lazy enough to use PNGs for animation. You can clearly see with the jump scares here, they're actually rendered within the office, grounding the game even further, and looking significantly better than even the sequel's jump scares. Speaking of grounding the game, let's move on to where I think this game is unmatched. I'm just gonna say it. This game uses ambient sounds more effectively than any other game in the franchise. The hum of the office light, the indescribable windy ambience, the carousel going off on its own, Foxy singing, everything layers together perfectly to create the exact atmosphere needed for this game. Most importantly, there's no indication of what sounds actually mean anything gameplay-wise. If you were to go back to some older videos, you might see players terrified of the "it's me" message with reversed speech, or the carousel, while in reality, these mean nothing. Out of everything, Freddy's laugh, the close footsteps, and the kitchen sounds are really the only ones useful in any terms of gameplay. Although most of the sounds used in the game are stock sound effects, they're used so effectively it isn't even noticeable. This game is home to many secrets, hidden in its damp, dark walls. Most famously is the rare appearance of Golden Freddy from looking at this specific hallway cam. On rare occasions, the poster can be replaced with this one, which will trigger the slumped over yellow version of Freddy to appear in the office, jump scare you, and crash your game. I tried for a while to get my own footage of this happening, but sadly, I was unlucky, so here's Markiplier's encounter with it.
Oh god! What the f***? What the f***, okay? Not okay!
Alongside this is the lore fed through newspapers on the walls, as mentioned in the story section, the crying children posters, and the numerous rare camera screens. Compared to later games in the series, this one was fairly light on the secrets. But who could forget the best secret of all? This game was really something special for me, and countless other kids that grew up alongside it. Again, let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a deeper dive in the franchise. Maybe I could even go back over some old theories and hoaxes. I think that would be a lot of fun. That's all for now though, folks. Good night.